Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Pints and Quarts. This is the news of the week kind of show from Craft Beer Nation. I'm Matt Miller. Got Lola Larcy, Gil Mello, Boris Castillo, and Ashley Bauer on the show tonight. And we're going to talk 30 minutes in and out. We're going to talk about some news in the beer world and just kind of cover it all and leave you wanting for more. So the first thing we're going to talk about tonight is a little BJCP news. The BJCP... I guess they must have a business meeting at the AHA, and they did some nominations, but they've elected officers for the 2014-2015 years, and the president is Gordon Strong, which I know that name. I don't know if he's been president before, but he's pretty relevant in the craft beer world. And the vice president is the name that surprises us and excites us, and his name is Phil Farrell. He's been on our BJCP review sessions before, all-around great guy. I think he's a pilot or something, works for one of the airlines, so he's seldom found in the same place, which is just perfect if you're a craft beer guy, I think. So, but we're excited for him. We're excited for them in another couple of years because there's some rules and guidelines changes that are coming. So lots of exciting things, and we'll dive right into that. According to David Hausman, which is another BJCP judge, and I think he writes a lot of these things, or he's on the committees that author the guidelines. A new version of the BJCP style guidelines was announced at the conference here 2 weeks ago, and it will go out for review and comment in the next few weeks, and likely official within a couple of months. So there'll be some new styles defined. I think the jokes have been there'll be black IPA and then every other IPA, and those are the two categories. I think of the jokes, but seriously, I think Goza's becoming a style, a category, right, or a subcategory.
Yeah.
And what else was Gruit? We're gonna be something, Boris. It seemed like you were talking about that, or at least I saw it in one of our chat sessions. There was a couple of different things. So I guess the exam will not start testing on these new guidelines until at least 2015. But they'll let us know when that is. So if you've been studying and preparing for your BJCP exam, this is your year because things are going to change. Anybody have comments on the BJCP?
Yeah, I don't know, but he said it's probably not going to. They're going to still use the old one for a while, right? Only going to come out
it'll be a transition over the next, year and a half, 2 years, as people start to pick up the guidelines at their local competitions and use them. And I think initially what will happen is they'll use some of the new styles, but not necessarily all of them, and then as the time passes, they'll move straight to the new guidelines.
Well, good.
I bet you're excited about having Goza there.
Yeah, having a Goza category is fantastic, and I know we've seen a couple of them show up at our local competitions here in South Carolina, so it'll be nice for them to have an actual category and not just, specialty beer.
That's a pretty complicated
brew. With Berliner Weiss, because
yeah,
that fits for me the same area.
Yeah. Berliner Weisses. I guess, are there previews out? Can people see them, or there was a video that they were talking about the changes that were coming, or some of the changes?
Yeah, there's the video that you can watch.
I saw the video. Gordon Strong talking about it. I actually watched it 2 nights ago, the night before. And yeah, it's got there's a lot of changes. I mean, a lot of changes. Some categories getting split apart instead of being all in one. All new categories, all new subcategories. Name changes to certain styles that we've gotten used to. The one that sticks out for me right now is Premium American Lager is going to be known as International Pale Lager because it theoretically catches everything. In the the premium American style is like a catch-all for all the international. So instead of excluding the international beers, now they're including them for judging purposes. So that's one of the ones that stuck out. There's a bunch more. Dunkelweissen is now known as Dunkel's Weiss beer. So
really,
that was a kind of strange change to me because
seems arbitrary.
Yeah, because when you go and order a Dunkel's Weiss beer, you're getting a Dunkelweissen. So, but I mean, that's my opinion. But I guess they've seen enough research from either entries or feedback that I guess it needed to be changed. But it's some minor tweaking, but the styles have been are getting changed big time, and then they're going even, if I remember correctly, they're going to go in and have better defined the guidelines, like in the categories, the aroma, the appearance, the flavor, the overall impression. They're tweaking what, for the judging side of the house, what to look for. So it's gonna be pretty exciting. And yes, the IPAs, like there is absolutely no shortage of IPA categories or subcategories. It's pretty big.
Yeah.
So Gil's pineapple vanilla oaked IPA will live on.
It might have its own category.
Those are two different beers. That's fine.
Well, you ought to put them together because it sounds like there's a category for you now.
Exactly, Gil. See, if you wanted to do that, now you can. The BJCP said, Gil, we got your back.
All right. Well, you have heard a little bit the voice of Ashley Bauer, and if you've been listening to the first couple of episodes, you'll know that we have been waiting for her to appear on the show because we actually want to talk a bit about the South Carolina legislative changes, and we didn't want to try and butcher it by trying to talk out our wazoos without her here. So Ashley is here. Ashley, run us through a little bit of the basics of what's happened there, and then we'll fire some questions at you in rapid succession.
Well, right at a month ago now, the legislator passed the laws despite InBev's fight against passing them at the last minute, writing a letter and getting 8, what do you call those people?
Lobbyists.
Lobbyists, yes. Words are hard. Lobbyists, they brought 8 lobbyists into our state at the last minute, and despite all that, we passed it, and now we can... And soon we can have multiple beers, not just 3 beers at a brewery. Like right now, you can only have 3 pints a day. You can only take out 288 ounces of beer a day. Like so, that's 4 64-ounce growlers. And so soon we'll be able to have as many pints as we want within reason. You know, you still can't serve drunk people, but there won't be the limits. The stipulations that people are confused about. They're not quite hammered out yet, and that's the food. It's basically a brew pub thing. So right now, brew pubs in South Carolina could only make 2,000 barrels of beer a year, and they could serve beer just like your local bar did, as much as they wanted, and people could take beer off premise. But now the breweries will be able to do that. And the food thing, breweries thought at first that it meant they had to have a full kitchen put in and things of that nature, but now the talk is that with something like a popcorn machine or beef jerky or food trucks even will count as the food portion of the brewery brew pub thing, so that they can serve as much beer as they like.
So there is a requirement that you have food to gain the ability to serve as much beer as you like?
Yeah,
okay.
It's just the definition of having food.
Okay. All right.
And I think I heard they mentioned that it's from 200,000 to 500,000
barrels, which is what Stone wanted. So, it was called the Stone Bill and now Stone Law because Stone proposed coming here among other places. And even if they don't come here, we're happy that they proposed it and got our legislator to pass the laws. It makes us more in line with North Carolina and Florida, probably Virginia.
And now, are there minimums like you're talking about in line with Florida? But Florida can't sell a 64 off premise. They can only do 32s and 128s or something.
Yeah, thankfully we don't have that. You can have 32, 22, 64. We don't have any container restrictions like that.
All right. So really, go ahead, Gil.
You don't have a limit for consumption premise, or did you have a limit before?
Yeah, we had a limit, and it's only been a year that we've had that limit, 3 pints a day per person on premise. Prior to that, a year ago, actually, I guess it was middle of June last year, it was only like 4 4-ounce samples, so you could get a flight and sample, but that was it. And that had been the norm for the past 2 years, so we've really come a long way in 3 years.
So here's a question. I guess it really pertains to what is about to be your old law. How could somebody at brewery A or brewery B know that the customer at brewery A had 3 pints when they arrived at their brewery B?
Oh yeah, it's just at that brewery, and that's the thing. We were like, here in Columbia, we have a unique situation. We have 2 breweries and a third to open soon, and they're all within walking distance.
Nice.
So yeah, you could have 3 at Conquest, and then 3 at River Rats, and then go have 3 at Swamp Cabbage, and
You just could not have more than 3 at the same brewery in your same sitting.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Gotcha.
what if it's like 11:50 p.m.? You go to one brewery and then you come back at 12:05 to the first brewery. Can you start over? Does it reset?
Maybe, but we don't have any breweries that are open that late right now.
See, there you go.
That kills.
Got a hole right in it.
Yeah, we still keep South Carolina hours at breweries, which, if you're lucky, is 9 o'clock at night when they close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, I guess maybe those laws are more interesting to the younger people. But if I went to a brewery and drank more than 3 pints, I would probably be done there anyway. You know, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I can count the number of times on one hand where I've drank 3 pints at a brewery.
Yeah.
I mean,
and in fact, I think we have one of those times on air. We recorded one of those times. So.
It's entirely possible.
So, all right. Well, were there any changes beyond that? I mean, Gil was right then. It was all about the food.
Yep.
It was about bringing food in.
Well, the only thing can you explain to me that I was confused when I read? I couldn't understand. They're not going to be able to do happy hour prices there anymore. Something to comply with the law. They can do the 2 buy 1 get 2 or half price half hour.
We sort of had some weird happy hour pricing to begin with, and there's this crazy stuff. If you read it on the books, it sounds crazy, but in reality, none of that stuff gets implemented, which is probably bad. The only pricing that I know of with the breweries is they have to price themselves the same as what a bar or a restaurant would sell their beer at, so within like 10%. You can't go to a Conquest and get a $1 beer ever, because nobody's going to sell a Conquest beer for $1.
Oh. That could be, well, that kind of stinks, because here, for example, even Albuquerque and Santa Fe, I could get elevated 16-ounce serving, normal elevated, for like $4. You know, or I can go to a bar locally and they may sell it for $6 for the exact same beer. There's no requirement. But in South Carolina, it sounds like, you know, the brewery, you go to the source, you're not going to get it any cheaper.
No. And I think that's because the distributors wanted a level playing field, like retail distributor, to make sure that, you know, nobody's going to go to the brewery just because it's cheaper.
But the happy hour thing is only for the food section of the brewery. Only on the food part. It has everything to do with the food, including they cannot do half price, half hour on the area that they're serving the food.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with the brewery or the.
Right. We just have some strange happy hour laws.
Well, let me ask you this now. There's a restaurant here that does buy 1 get 1 free for their happy hour.
Yeah,
So
we're not allowed to do that
with
here.
Yeah, different laws.
We have like $1 off or something, but you're not allowed to do buy 1 get 1 free.
BOGO
Thank you,
beer.
Florida. I love you, Florida. If you're ever Jacksonville European Street, I love you. Sorry.
There are certain places in Virginia that they're not even, or certain conditions. If you're a brew pub or a whatever, you can't use the word happy hour in your marketing. So,
Oh my goodness.
you know, they just, you know, it isn't what they want. So laws are different everywhere, I guess.
Every state's got different laws.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next subject here. We're going to talk. Gil found some great news. This leads into last week's review of the week. Wookie Jack.
Yeah, that is actually something that makes me very happy. You know, it's probably one of my favorite beers, and it's when it comes to black IPAs, I think it is the #1 beer for me, and it's the Firestone Walker Wookie Jack. They announced that they are going to do it on 12-ounce bottles, which to me is amazing because, you know, such a good beer. It's 8.3%. During the week, you know, on a Wednesday afternoon, you just want to have a beer. You're not going to open a bomber.
Yeah.
So they announced they're going to have it's going to be a 4-pack, 12-ounce.
You know, I was very happy when they did that with Double Jack about 2 years ago. Double Jack used to be only bombers, and now you can find that in the 4-packs of 12 ounces. So I definitely like the trend.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be easy. I think it's going to come out of the shelf for them more often. You know, you'll be able to share with your friends. You'll be able to have more choices. You know, and places like Pennsylvania that you can do mixed pack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have grabbed a.
I'm more likely to buy Wookie Jackies now than I did before, but it's going to be happening more often. But it was nice.
Yeah. Also in the news this week, and if you're following any news on craft beer, you've seen pictures of this at least, but Sam Calagione of Dogfish Head is getting on a boat, or on a boat now, I guess, with his son Sammy. And where are they going from? They're going from Delaware all the way to, can't remember where they're going. They're going north though, aren't they?
Yeah.
Are they going up towards? They're
Towards
going
Maine?
up. Yeah, they're going up toward Maine or something. They're taking a boat and they're going to stop and have beer parties along the way. I
Are
guess.
they going to go to where Dogfish Head got its name from? Because it's not
That's
Delaware.
it. That's right. Yeah, that's what it was. They were going to
Yeah.
Dogfish Head or Dogfish somewhere.
Right.
And they're going to stop at beer festivals, and it's an epic adventure, and it's a fundraiser for the Nature Conservancy.
That's
So,
fantastic.
yeah. So, I mean, I guess it makes me a little jealous, Yeah, I guess you do well in life, and you can do those kind of things. Get on a boat for a month, take your son out. So.
They're saying the inn's slated to open July 4th weekend.
Say that again. Oh, yes.
The inn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it was just 2 weeks then, because he's been. I think he's been out there about a week. So.
Yeah.
They call it the Fish Finder, right?
The Fish Finder. Yeah, that's right.
I think they're going towards Portland, not Portland, Oregon, but
Maine.
Maine.
Yeah.
Maine, yeah.
That would be longer than a 2-week sail to
I
Portland.
think it's Atlantic City, New York, Block Island, Boston, and then Portland.
Here we go. That's
That
pretty
sounds
cool.
wonderful.
All right, Lola found a little bit of the news this week too, and it comes to my home state.
Yeah, and believe it or not, I actually did research, and so I actually wrote notes and everything. There's a brewery called Bold Rock Hard Cider. It's in Nelliesburg, Virginia. They opened in 2010. They have two owners, Brian Shanks and John Washburn. Brian Shanks is a cider maker. He's from New Zealand. I saw pictures. They have a beautiful place on 50-something acres of land. It's beautiful, and they're going to open up another plant, but they're keeping the one they have in Virginia. In fact, they're renovating the one they have in Virginia, but they're going to open a plant in Mills River, North Carolina, and they said they considered East Tennessee and South Carolina, but the owner, John Washburn, is from North Carolina, and he loves Mills River. Let's see. It's a cidery, so they just do cider, but they do different brews of cider. And they're going to use the apples from Henderson County, which is the North Carolina county they're going to be opening their place in. And I found an article from March. And so some of this may be outdated since it's 3 months old, but it's going to be a potential $8 million investment. It could create 50 jobs. It's going to be 10 acres. It's going to have a major production facility and something they call agritourism-themed tasting room. I don't know if that means you're going to be eating plants. I don't know, but it sounds interesting.
I'm guessing apples.
Yeah.
I think it's the business speak for a tasting room for the cider.
Oh, that would make sense. Okay, so maybe they'll just eat apples and cider.
Yeah.
Okay. It says they hope to break ground late this summer and begin cider production by spring or summer of next year.
Awesome.
Fantastic. They are here in Nelson County, Virginia, which is 20 minutes from me. They are located right on the same road. They're directly between the brew pub for Devil's Backbone, and actually maybe a little bit past Devil's Backbone, but they're right there next to that and Blue Mountain. So they are part of the Nelson County, Blue Ridge Brew Trailer. I forget what they call it, but they're right here, and their cider is everywhere. They sell it 6-packs of clear bottles, painted up looking. If I were the Rolling Rock guys, I might think they were coming after my marketing blend, but
It does look like Rolling Rock.
Yeah, but it does look a little bit like that. But they make good cider, and it is distributed by the Anheuser-Busch distributor here in the area too. So, but
I forgot to mention, right now they only distribute in Virginia, Washington, D.C., and parts of Maryland, but they're starting to show up in tap rooms in Asheville and surrounding North Carolina areas.
Oh, cool.
yes,
I'll look for them when I'm up there next month.
Yeah, they're expanding their distribution. So, All right. Well, we're going to talk about that growth. You know, here she talks about an $8 million expansion for a cidery going down a couple of states. And Ashley has a story here about Colorado.
Yeah, there's an article here in the Denver Post about how long can the head of craft beer in Colorado continue to rise. And they talk about how since 2009, the number of breweries in Colorado has doubled. There was 232 in 2013. And they speak about how, you know, each brewery opening up and worrying about losing market share. But as we've seen, you know, all over the country, every time a brewery opens up, it actually helps out all the other breweries. Like the rising tide raises all ships. And really, the whole point of this article that really hit home with me was some breweries say that to avoid the next crash, they're going to require the craft beer customer base to grow as quickly as the number of breweries. So we've got to keep educating consumers about craft beer and move more people off of the light lager and on to the craft beer if we want to keep this bubble from bursting. But it's pretty exciting to see craft beer growing so rapidly. Like, I mean, even here in South Carolina, we've doubled our number of breweries in 2 years. So it's just nuts. But yeah.
You know, I really think it is happening, though. I think we are harvesting from the American light lager drinker. I mean, you're never going to get away from the guy who wants to drink 30 of them, and a Busch Light 30 pack is $15 or whatever. So you're never going to get that guy away. But every one of my friends who has drunk beer in the last 20 years is, you know, maybe they'll say that Blue Moon is all right. That's at least moving in the right direction. You know, I mean, they're at least adventuring past it. So I'm hoping that the prediction or that they're on the right track to keep things going here. So.
I do think they are. Portland, Oregon, they're at the 40% craft beer consumption now.
Yeah.
So if they can do it, you know.
Yeah, that's the highest.
Making places like Denver, Portland, and California. You can't make it anywhere else.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but if that's happening there, maybe we can't hit 40, but we can hit 10. We can hit 12. You know, we'll just quickly pick up more and more. 20% growth every year is fantastic for a business.
And it's probably more expensive out there. Their overhead and everything would be more, I would think.
Yeah.
Well, except they grow all the hops there.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. They all grow their own hops. And actually, talking about the hops, well, let's migrate this right into the hops prices crisis that's coming.
Right. So the Wall Street Journal's Tom Asatelli posted an article this week about the shortages. And for comparison's sake, a pound of hops in 2013 had an average price of $3.59 a pound. That's $1.88 up from 2004. And a good reason was in 2008, the hop growing industry felt like a big rush of demand for hops overseas, so they pulled their resources out of the U.S. at the time in 2008 for that. Well, it ended up being bad timing because shortly after that, the double IPAs, imperial IPAs that we are now accustomed to seeing as a year-round beer from brewers started to become very, very popular. And so as a new brewery would pop up, you would get an IPA, a double IPA from them, and maybe a pale ale. And now, you know, this year's hot beer style is the session IPA or sessionable IPA or fractional IPA, which still demands hops. They particularly cite the Cascade hop from Oregon, like we were just talking about. So they had a 10-year peak of 6,370 acres back in 2008. Well, now it's down to 4,786. So that's a good, 20% drop, which doesn't hold well because Cascade is an extremely popular hop in pretty much every single form of pale ale IPA out there. So including even some sessions. There is help. There are other states in the U.S., New York, for example. They used to be a big hop farm back in the 19th century prior to Prohibition. So they're growing out there. I know Virginia has hop farms out there. New Mexico is about to have one. Santa Fe, they said they have one growing 100+ acres of it. So there's other means for breweries to get hops. And for those that don't know, for a home brewer like myself, like Gil, like Ashley, the hop farms have contracts for these breweries for said hop. So we'll say Hop Union has to provide hops, Cascade hops for, Firestone Walker in California, and they have to provide X amount of pounds per year for X amount of years. Well, if they can't provide that, now, that's on the hop growers' problem, and now Firestone has to find a way to source those hops, the Cascade hops. And just like grapes for wine, hops grown in different areas of this country do produce different characteristics. They usually are the same, but there is a slight difference. You really have to have a keen palate to pick it up, but it may be a problem here. Maybe we'll see it come next year when somebody comes up with some form of like double, triple, quad session IPA, something ridiculous, because we're gonna have so many more IPAs, come next year. But hopefully it doesn't get worse and it gets better.
I do know here in Virginia there's a couple of active Cascade farmers that are expanding. Anybody who will let them plant, and anyone, they'll help. There's training on how to grow and how to water and how to maintain. And in fact, Hardywood Park Craft Brewery in Richmond had a program that they would give rhizomes to anybody that would grow hops for them, because they're right in the middle of the city. Anybody who had real estate, they give you rhizomes to plant. So that was a program.
Probably the hops is so dependent on the terrain too. It's like certain stuff with grapes.
Yeah.
It's kind of the terroir for the wine. It works something similar for the hops, and that's why Portland is so successful. But that not to say that maybe some other area is going to have to pick it up. It's an opportunity for more farming opportunity, I guess. Can be good.
All right.
Can be bad.
All right, we're coming down to the end of the show here. Before we punch out and read the festivals for the coming weeks, I wanted to talk a little bit about the review of the week from Craft Beer Community on Google+. We asked you to put Pints and Quarts hashtag, so hash Pints and Quarts in your review, and we'd pick one and air it here and talk about it here on the show. And this is one of my, it's a great beer. I've got one in the fridge. I might drink one after the show's over. But this is Lagunitas Undercover Shutdown Ale, and it's the review is posted by Mark Jorgensen, and he is pretty active in the community. He seems like a pretty good guy. Looks like he's in Illinois, so that's a good spot to get Lagunitas beer these days if you're up near Chicago. But his review says caramel malts and a bit of sweet, and the hops balance with a nice piney and citrusy notes. Slight heat, which doesn't hurt. This is easy to drink, high ABV brew. And I can't remember. Do you guys remember? This is close to 9, isn't it? Is this a 9% beer or a little bit more?
It's like right around 9%.
Yeah,
It's
this is
9.8, 9.7, or 9.9.
This is like a little bit roastier version of the brown sugar. This is like, to me, there's a malt profile here that goes along with Sucks and brown sugar. But this is a great beer, and we will contact Mark and get him a sticker, a CBN sticker out this week. My sticker shipment came in, so I'll be able to know now.
Mine too.
The last batch was 7.85%.
What's that? Oh, it's only 8. It's 7, just under 8. All right, so it's a little
on the last
it's a little more
batch. I guess
sessionable.
It varies by batch.
It's a little more sessionable than the brown sugar is, then, I guess. But no, keep them coming. Hashtag Pints and Quarts, or just tag Craft Beer Nation. Plus Craft Beer Nation. Get that in your review in the craft beer community. That's where the fun is. So that is going to be our show for the week. We're going to talk a little bit about beer festivals and some new releases here. It looks like it's just festivals, but Atlanta's Summer Beer Fest is in the Masquerade Music Park in Atlanta. That's June 27th. Oh, that was today, wasn't it? So you're a little bit too late if you missed it. If you're just waiting to hear where your festivals are, you've missed that one.
If you're home, get out of the house.
Get out
on the internet.
to Masquerade Music Park and go. The 10th Annual North American Organic Brewers Festival. I can't believe I said that all without messing it up. This weekend in Overlook Park, Portland, Oregon. So if you are one of those lucky fools that gets to live in that region where the good beer is, where all the good beer is, go give that a check out. 25th Anniversary Colorado Brewers Festival is this weekend as well in the Civic Center Park in Fort Collins. I imagine Breckenridge, our good friends, have got a pretty big setup there. And actually, I think this is their 24th year. They just had their 24th anniversary, so now there's the 25th Anniversary Brewers Festival at the same time. So California Beer Festival in Novato, Stafford Lake, Novato, California. That's tomorrow. And then looks like next Saturday is Yellowstone Beer Festival. I guess if you're going to go to Cody, Wyoming, there's some good beer there. 10th Annual Summertime Brews Festival is going to be the 12th of July in the Coliseum Complex in Greensboro, North Carolina. Man, that is the weekend we're in North Carolina, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if we can get it all in one day or not, but maybe we will. Craft Beer Nation.
The 12th is kind of a big day though. So
Yeah.
That's Allen's Day. We're going to do a release party. Hey, if you're listening and you're in Raleigh on the 12th of July, come to the Busy Bee. We're going to do a release party for a brew that one of our moderators, one of our good friends, Alan Huerta, was part of brewing. What's it called? Grandma's Closet.
That's right.
An IPA on cedar. So come out to the Busy Bee in Raleigh, North Carolina, and get some of that next Saturday. So
3 p.m.
2 Saturdays from now, 3 p.m. Yeah,
3
and if
p.m.
you're foolish enough to really come to that, let us know you're coming because I'll buy the first round. And it's safe. We've only got like 100 listeners, so I can afford who can make it. If you can come out, I can buy you a beer. I'll buy you at Grandma's Closet. And that is our show for this week. I think we've covered it all. We worked through the news. I was so excited to talk about South Carolina's thing that's been hanging over our heads. We wanted to get that on the air and talk about that. So tune in next week. We're going to do another episode of this. It's going to be the 4th of July. It might be just me because everybody else is probably going to be off setting off fireworks. But I'm going to try and air a show next Friday night at 9 o'clock. So drink the good stuff, hang out with your friends, and mind your P's and Q's.